Every night, a few minutes after I climb into bed, my closet door slowly opens, and I see two pale blue orbs reflecting whatever moonlight sifts through my curtains and into my room. With the nightlight, I could further make out its nebulous, elongated shape and see its pale marble eyes with even more clarity. Through a ripped mask, I could see four deep red chasms in his flesh that extended down the left side of his face to his neck. Pulsing blood poured down his body from the wounds, soaking his clothes to appear shimmering black in the moonlight. His right arm had been pulled out of its socket and was hanging limply by his side, the white bone protruding from cracked skin. Welcome to another episode of Drawing and Telling Horror Stories with Mr. Beast. Let's rock and roll, guys. I've been through several homes, eventually moving out of my parents' house and into my own apartment in the cheaper, lonelier fringes of the city. No matter where I've moved, this thing has followed me, always residing in my bedroom closet. Over the years, I have tried almost everything you can think of to try and rid myself of this thing. Seances, mediums, Ouija boards. I even had a priest come once to perform an exorcism, which incidentally is nothing like in the movies. Nothing has worked. Fortunately though, this thing hadn't become angry or aggressive, despite my attempts to get rid of it. It just stood in my closet and watched me. I don't know what it is, but I've long resigned myself to its companionship. Every night, a few minutes after I climb into bed, my closet door slowly opens, and I see two pale blue orbs reflecting whatever moonlight sifts through my curtains and into my room. At first, when I was a child, this horrified me. I can remember countless nights in which I would remain frozen as my closet door noiselessly opened, my body going numb from stillness. I would breathe as shallow as I could to be inaudible, terrified that any movement would cause the thing to attack. Many nights were spent in this deadlocked silence, neither of us moving. Of course, my parents chalked it up to the typical child's nightmare of a monster in the closet and gave me a nightlight. This only made it worse. With the nightlight, I could further make out its nebulous, elongated shape and see its pale marble eyes with even more clarity. The next night, I told my parents that I didn't need the light anymore. During sleepovers as a kid, and the more sybaritic nights as an adult, I noticed that the closet door would open only slightly, if at all, as if the thing did not want others to realize its existence. This of course instigated a campaign of sleepovers, as many as I could have, in order to avoid seeing the nightmare in my closet. Sometimes I attribute my current promiscuity to a conditioned response. I mean, why sleep alone when you can have company, right? Despite this indisputable logic, my female friends will still jokingly call me a man whore. Eventually though, people can get used to anything, even closet demons watching you while you sleep. I live alone now, my former roommate having moved in with his soon-to-be wife. I don't know if it's the solitude of these recent nights, but lately the thing in my closet has felt a lot closer. I was returning home last night, pleasantly buzzed after a few rounds of post-work happy hour drinking. I got off the bus and walked up to the front door of my two-family home, noting the lights off in the upstairs apartment. I fumbled for my keys, and just as I turned the key in the lock, I felt a hard, pointed object jam into the small of my back, sending electric pain pulsing up my spine. Do not make a fucking sound or I will kill you. Walk in slowly and don't do anything stupid. The man grabbed my shoulder and pushed me into the apartment. My heart was pounding and adrenaline shot through my body, causing me to shake as though I were naked in a freezer. I did as he said and we entered my living room together. I struggled to find my voice. Please don't hurt me. Just take whatever you want and go. The man shoved me and closed the door behind him. I turned to him and saw a man of average build, wearing a green army jacket stained with brown patches and black pants. His face was covered by a black knitted mask with two eye holes haphazardly cut out, something that under different circumstances might have been humorously cliche, but in this one only served to make the scenario more terrifying. He grunted and pointed the black revolver at my face, causing me to instinctively recoil and put my hands out in a supplicating gesture. Shut up and give me your wallet. He thrust out his free hand and encouraged for me to expedite the process by waving his gun. I took out my wallet and gave it to him. The man opened it with one hand, the gun never wavering from its aim at my skull. Okay, Matthew. Now I'm going to give you 5 seconds to tell me where you keep your valuables. Adrenaline-fueled panic mixed with inebriated stupor and produced a delirious amalgam of terrified calm. From this, my brain decided that sarcasm would be my best choice for survival. Valuables? I'm an unmarried 27-year-old living in a apartment. What kind of valuables do you think I have? The man responded by walking over to me and smacking the butt of the pistol against my head. Pain immediately washed over me and my vision blurred. I had never been hit so hard in my life, and my head throbbed violently. I could feel blood trickling down the side of my face and mixing with the tears in my eyes. The man stood over me and shouted, "Do you think I'm f***ing joking? I will kill you tonight. What the f*** do I have to lose? Now get the f*** up, Matthew." He clicked back the hammer of the gun. "This is your last chance." I commanded my legs to support my body, but they were wobbly and weak. I used the table next to me and managed to get to my feet. "In my room. In my room," I said weakly. The man grabbed me by the back of my collar and elbowed me in the direction I had pointed. I stumbled along, feeling hopeless and genuinely believing that I would die. When we reached my room, I tried turning on the light, but nothing happened. I looked at him apologetically and shook my head, causing me to wince in pain. He grunted and told me to get out of the way. He pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and told me to show him where. I pointed at the top drawer of my dresser and said, "In there. I keep money in the back behind the socks." The man found the thick wad of $50 bills in an envelope where I told him. It was $1,000. He turned to me again and said, "What else do you have? Do you have a safe somewhere?" Just as my brain queued up another sarcastic remark, a wisp of an idea crept into my mind. "Yeah, in the closet." He pointed at my open closet door and said, "In here?" I nodded. The man walked tentatively towards the blackness, the old floorboards creaking with each step. It seemed that the rectangular frame of the door was swallowing up any light attempting to pass beyond it, and the small light from the man's flashlight was rendered virtually ineffective. He stepped forward into the closet. I could just hear him whisper, "What the hell?" when the door to the abyss slammed shut, ringing out like a gunshot. A split second later, and he was screaming. Slamming and loud thuds boomed out of the closet door, and the man who had attempted to rob me yelled as though a meat grinder was pulling his limbs apart. The man screaming soon turned to wailing, and I could hear him pleading for me to open the door, but I just stood in paralyzed shock. Suddenly, the door swung open. His mask was torn but still clinging to his bloodied face, as though anonymity would somehow protect him from the terror that ripped and clawed and slashed at his soft body. Through the ripped mask, I could see 4 deep red chasms in his flesh that extended down the left side of his face to his neck. Pulsing blood poured down his body from the wounds, soaking his clothes to appear shimmering black in the moonlight. His right arm had been pulled out of its socket and was hanging limply by his side, the white bone protruding from cracked skin. Our eyes met, and for a second we were the same. 2 men experiencing something beyond our comprehension that instantly shattered whatever belief we had in the order and transparency of the world. I hadn't realized it, but until then, the thing in my closet was just a horrifying idea, a construct that could affect nothing more than a draft of air. Then everything snapped back, and an enormous black claw radiating dark fumes from its skin came slamming down onto the man's back, with the sound of a pitchfork crashing through wet mud, and pulled him back into the darkness. After a minute of muffled, futile struggling, all sounds emanating from the closet ceased. I stood there, immersed in the deadly silence. Then, the door to my closet opened soundlessly, and I could see 2 pale eyes, with newly defined pupils, gazing out at me. I nodded slowly and walked out of my room, stepping over the pool of blood that was spreading across my floor. I woke up this morning on my couch with the feeling of a nail being steadily pounded into my skull. I called in sick to work and was surely very believable. I'd left a brown stain on the spot where my head had bled onto the fabric. The throbbing pain was an instant reminder of the previous night's gruesome violence. I stood up and made my way to my room. The sun lit up my apartment, which in contrast to last night made the space look almost charming. I entered my room, expecting to see brutal carnage, but stopped in surprise. No blood, no grisly, forcibly detached appendages, no trace that the man who had tried to rob me had even been there. The only thing, aside from the stitches that I'd have to get for my head, to confirm what happened was the money that lay on the floor of my open closet door, right next to the shreds of a black knitted mask.